In today's Leeds news, new goalkeeping coach, Leeds watching Bayern Munich starlet, Creswell into Euro final, Skubala back to the under-21's, another goalkeeper linked, missing players explained, and unlikely player monitored by Leeds. Hey folks, Jay here on the 6th of July with your Leeds United news, and there's scraps today after all the big stuff kind of got announced. There's only a few small bits floating around, and some of these are big pinch of salt territory, but we'll get through them anyway. One a week. It is Thursday this week. I usually do this on a Wednesday, but it's Thursday this week. So one a week. If you like the channel, if you enjoy what you're watching here and you like what I do, please feel free to help support the channel, help it grow, and by sharing, liking, or subscribing to the channel always helps. I only ask once a week, so there's my one a week. There's a lot of people that keep saying they've only just found this channel and they like it. So if you want to share it around, that would also be great, because that would help the channel grow and help other people who haven't found it to find the channel. So there you go. We'll move on and get past that. Now let's start off with the news. And a new goalkeeping coach is expected to be announced imminently, according to the Yorkshire Evening Post. Leeds are expected to confirm a replacement for Marcus Abad, who left the club yesterday. And there's a bit of rumours around who that could possibly be. There's not a huge amount of information coming out of the club at the moment with the 49ers ownership. This is going to be something I think that we all need to get used to and expect going forward. But the rumour is that Fabian Otte is the favoured candidate to come in as the goalkeeping coach. However, that doesn't come without its share of complications. Otte did work with Daniel Farke at Gladbach, but is still at Gladbach, currently under contract. So it would need an approach from Leeds United to get that situation sorted out and free him up to come into Leeds. But the Yorkshire Evening Post say that Leeds will announce a goalkeeping coach imminently. As I said yesterday, it's not the biggest thing in the world because there are other goalkeeping coaches. There's not just one goalkeeping coach at Leeds, there's several in that team. So they'll be able to do an awful lot of stuff without the number one goalkeeping coach. But I'm sure Daniel Farke will want his people in place on what is now, as we know, a 4-year contract, which is an extensive period of time for any head coach to get. So he'll want to build his team pretty quickly behind the scenes. Moving on, let's look at players that potentially Leeds are keeping an eye on, and I will take a few of these with a pinch of salt, just given from where they've come from. Starting off with Leeds watching a Bayern Munich starlet, and this comes from Leeds Live, so there is a pinch of salt on some of this stuff. And Daniel Farke is expected to be keeping a close eye on Bayern Munich starlet Malik Tillman. Tillman had a successful loan spell at Glasgow Rangers last season and pretty much stood out as probably one of the better players in the league, despite Rangers not doing what they were expected to do last season and winning trophies. He is named as a bit of a long shot here because he is apparently in Bayern Munich's plans long term. But Daniel Farke's relationship with Thomas Tuchel is said to be a reason why Leeds could potentially get a potential loan deal for Tillman to Leeds, or a possible permanent move, depending on how Thomas Tuchel's setup or the new look Bayern Munich squad comes together for him. Tillman is apparently being watched by several Premier League clubs as well at the moment. But as I said, he did stand out as one of the better players in the Scottish Premier Division last season, and a move south of the border could be good for him and very good for Leeds. So one to keep an eye on. Moving on, massive congrats to Charlie Creswell, who will represent England in the European Under-21 Championship final on the 8th of July, 2 days from today. England beat Israel 3-0 in their semi-final, and Creswell was an unused substitute in that game, but he has played some games quite well. They seem to be chopping and changing the team quite a lot to keep them fresh. It'll be interesting to see will Cressy make the cut for the final. I would expect he will. So congratulations, huge achievement for him. England haven't won an under-21 tournament, I think, since 1984 or something like that. So it would be great for him to get into that situation. So best of luck to Charlie in the final. Today's Thursday, it's on Saturday. There you go. News and the backroom shake-up continues to come out of Leeds United, and Michael Skubala has now been confirmed as the new Leeds United under-21 coach. This comes after yesterday's confirmation that Paco Gallardo had left the role after 1 year in charge of that side. Gallardo took over the team just after Michael Skubala moved into the first team setup to replace Jesse Marsh as the interim head coach. He then stayed on in the first team setup with Javi Gracia and with Sam Allardyce, but now he is moving back to take control of the under-21s, who were in a very strong position when he moved up last year. And it's great to see Skubs move back into that role now. So he will be assisted by Michael Pujak, who has been floating around the club as well, and the 18 coach as well. So it's great to see that team getting back together on what will be an interesting season. Still not confirmed whether this is going to be a one division Premier League 2 or whether it's going to still contain the Division 1, Division 2 like last season. There is a plan to merge the two together into one large league with no relegation and promotion in order to progress development of players. But No update just yet. The Premier League clubs apparently did vote in favour of it, but it hasn't been ratified just yet, or I just might not have seen it yet. So there's that. Moving on to another potential incoming and a situation that Leeds will need to resolve pretty quickly coming into the friendly season, and that is around the goalkeeping situation. And according to Football League World, so big, huge, massive bucket of salt because they usually never get anything right. And they're saying Leeds are monitoring 4 goalkeepers. Some of these have already been named earlier this month. We saw the Rotherham goalkeeper Victor Johansson mentioned as a candidate for Leeds number 1, as well as Carl Darlow mentioned earlier this week as a favourite for that position in Leeds, apparently in open negotiations with Newcastle to bring the Newcastle shot stopper in. However, they are now claiming that Fulham goalkeeper Marek Rodak is on Leeds' radar. Rodak has found himself as the number 2 choice of Fulham since they brought in Bernd Leno from Arsenal, and he may be looking at possibilities elsewhere. It's also said that Fulham are expected to allow several players to leave the club this year as they conduct a mini rebuild in their overall squad, and Rodak is said to be one of those players who can leave. Rodak could go to Leeds for anything between €10 million and €12 million, or Leeds could look at some form of a loan deal with an option to buy should they get promoted. That would be an interesting one to keep an eye on as well. But Rodak's a very, very good goalkeeper as well. So between Rodak and Carl Darlow, if either of those two come in, Johansson as well. Johansson had a great season last year. But if any of them come in, this solid goalkeeping option moving into next season. Still no update on Ilan Mellier's situation. Club still being linked with him. No offers in place. He is due back next week, along with most of the U21 internationals outside of Creswell. And then moving on to the first day of preseason yesterday, we saw lots of videos and pictures emerge of the players doing their stuff. And it was interesting to see the players that were highlighted, a lot of the youth being highlighted. But there was also interesting to see who was missing. Yes, these videos did pop out. We saw Daniel Farke talking to plenty of the players and getting involved. Players like Cody Drama, Darko JB, Archie Gray, Joffrey, Lewis Bate, and Jeremiah Mullen were all pictured. I think Lewis Bate could have a sneaky breakout season. It's a big show. It's a big show, but I think he might. Very good in League One last year. Jeremiah Mullen also could be a contender for a surprise package this year as well. However, there were some notable absences in that video and pictures. They were Jack Harrison, Louis Sinisterra, and Tyler Adams. Tyler Adams had earlier in the day posted a picture of him in Hawaii. Jack Harrison the day before, when the measurements were being taken place, shared a video of him collecting his dog around at the same time, which led question marks over whether they were at the training ground, had turned up, or were doing their own stuff away from the club. Well, we now know a little bit more, and according to the Yorkshire Evening Post, all 3 did report back for training, and despite Tyler Adams' picture in Hawaii, he was at Thorpe Arch yesterday. Sinisterra, Adams, and Harrison are all said to be undergoing treatment or building their way back up to group activity following the injuries that they sustained towards the back end of the season. Harrison had an operation on a hip issue. Tyler Adams with a hamstring, and Sinisterra has just a multiple of injuries last season that caught up with him. So all doing their own work separate to the group. However, the article does also say that Leeds expect all 3 of those players to be gone when the season kicks off against Cardiff. Which brings us on to our next and final story of today, and that's an unlikely transfer for Leeds. I'm going to just do this because there's not a whole lot of news going around, and this is there. I don't believe this one to be true, but it is silly season, and silly season brings some unusual links. There's just pluses and negatives to this one, but according to the Express and to the Daily Star, Leeds and Southampton are both interested in West Brom winger Grady Diagana. Leeds are expected to lose the bulk of their wingers. I've already mentioned Jack Harrison, Louis Sinisterra, but Willie Gnonto and Somerville, who are also targets of Premier League clubs and European interest. And it could be a situation where Leeds lose all 4 this summer. Well, looking across the Championship for new replacements for that, and Carlos Corberán is likely to have a situation where he has to sell players this summer in order to buy. We've already seen some big names leave West Brom this summer for other pastures, and it's now reported that Diagana could also be available of somewhere between £8 to £10 million of a transfer fee. He only scored 4 goals and had 3 assists in the entirety of last season, costing West Brom close to £12 million. He only managed to rack up 7 goal involvements in the entire season, so not great. But it could just be a one-off season. I mean, Diagana could just need a break. West Brom was in a strange situation last year. Maybe it's just a change of setup needed, but it'll be interesting to see. Leeds could then opt to bring some of the younger players through again, or Leeds could look at a situation where they move for someone like Diagana. But I would say that one's unlikely. It's probably the one that they'll actually go and do now, but I would have thought that was unlikely just based on the players Leeds are interested in, the pricing of this as well, and also based on the fact of what he did last season in the Championship. Leeds don't seem to be taking any gambles with this. Every appointment, every transfer that they seem to be looking at seems to be a sensible, logical step with a move away from the Victor Orta broken project setup where we took a player who hadn't done anything at a previous club or showed promise and not delivered, and we were going to gamble on him. That seems to all be gone, and now the signings seem to be sensible decisions. So I could be wrong. I could be wrong. We'll have to wait and see. And that's going to be it for me today, folks. Just to let you know, also, we will be launching the podcast on a weekly basis now going forward. It'll record on Friday this week and will be available over the weekend for some additional content. It'll also be available on the Spotify channel, which is where the podcast will live going forward. I am also going to activate memberships on the page next week. Don't worry about it if you're not interested in. Nothing on the channel is going to change. The videos will still be free. Everyone will still see everything all the time. So don't worry about that. Nothing to worry about here. Nothing's going to change majorly. But, I'd like to jazz this up a little bit more, and to do that, I need to pay for some stuff. So if that helps to do that, great. That's the idea. Anyway, that's the story for today, folks. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you tomorrow morning for the last video of the week and Leeds news. Have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.